So let's see, today we have a lot of problems in politics. I mean, you know.
Oh, yes, yes.
Why
okay.
is that?
Well, the Fijians, they were used to having just one party, one or two, but now there is quite a lot. When, you know, as you notice in the last general election, almost 20 Fijian parties or more entered into the political arena, and some of them just run as independent candidates.
Why is that? Why is it the life? Why is this changing?
I think the changes is due to the people's perception of how the country is to be run, and they'd rather get involved in that area. It's just the differences of view and opinion as to how the country is to be run, I suppose.
But do you think the way it is run today, is it fine or is not?
Well, it is still okay because the general election picks, you know, the ruling party, and so we've left that to the system of general election. We would like to see some improvement in running of the government if it can be achieved.
Like
And I think the political parties are moving there to try and trying to remove the reasons why this coup happens. You know, it started in '87, and now in 2000 there's again another one. They have not tried to look into the reason why the indigenous Fijians are causing this coup, because they are the main causes of the coup.
So why
1987 and 2000.
So why do you think this thing is happening? Why?
That's really the purpose. An inquiry should be made why it is happening like that. Because I have a feeling underneath that the Fijians who are out there in the villages, who are still struggling in the way they have known when Fiji was ceded to Great Britain, is still there. Nothing has changed, you know. And I think they have a certain ideas and concept of how the government should be run, because the life in the village is it goes whether government changes or not. It doesn't affect them. They don't know what goes on, and so having seen the problems that go on in the government in Suva, I think they have some fair idea of how the country should be run.
So, I mean, you think there will be more coups in the future? I mean, because there's a misunderstanding between the villagers and the people who run the government.
Yes, I don't think coup is the coup is they understand now that it is expensive. It takes the country back, you know, so many years, and trying to rebuild takes money and time to get it back to where it was, you know. But I think the Fijian is much troubled with the way the government runs. They have been seeing that, you know, when Ratmara was running the country, they all come from Laos, and Laos seems to be in the forefront of all the running of the government all this time, you know. And the other traditional parts of the country have nothing to say. The Western have a lot of economic development going on. The tourism, the gold, the cane is all there in the West, but they have not, the chiefs have not been able to run the country. So those are some of the things, considerations that some of these Fijians out there are looking at.
So, I mean, now they are in government now, the West chiefs?
Yes, they are in, but they would like sometimes to be in charge, you know, to be the prime minister, to be in charge of the running of the government. At least if that can be done, so that the chiefs of the various divisions of the country take turns in doing leadership.
So do you think these things will solve the problem? Huh?
Well,
or
I think
maybe we should change the constitution, make a new one, or maybe change the whole British system, put an American system, or like create a new chief system, something.
Yes, a good point. Because I think the present constitution has given us the problem that we are in now. We must not forget that when the new constitution was brought in, 8 of the provinces rejected it, the draft. They rejected. And I think 2 abstained from saying anything against it, and so that leaves 4 who are in favor.
So, I mean, this is the present one, or is this the...
Yes, the present constitution. They should. I think they should work towards changing it, because right now the multi-party cabinet, that concept has never been put anywhere. I mean, it runs against the Westminster system. So they are trying to work it, but I don't know. They are trying it, but they have this current problem that they've got now within the party itself, the Fiji Labour Party.
So you think? I mean, you think Indians can be prime minister like Mahendra Chaudhary was prime minister for
little one, yes.
So you think, is that okay for Indians or no?
I think that time is still forward until the people get socialized much more. There's a lot to be done in that area, I think. Because I think the division is still there, the races are still far apart, and I think they should bring the racial issue much closer, so that when that time comes, the country will be ready to accept anyone, who takes the leadership.
You think we should have a female president and Fijian? If men cannot run it, maybe let's put some women over there.
Well, that is open now. Women are now being put into positions all over the world, being charged. We have no problems here. I think if a lady is placed as a president or as prime minister, we have no problems with that.
So, you think it will be a problem with the Great Council of Chief? I mean, they can be a woman. I mean, they are all men right now, right?
Yes. Well, the Council of Chiefs is under the Ministry of Fijian Affairs, but now, of course, they have their own secretariat separate from the Fijian Affairs. They now exist on their own. There is no problem here at this stage about if there should be a change that a lady should be in charge there in the Council of Chiefs. Because there is a present Thakambau family who have ladies there. We have accepted their leadership. So if they are used in that area in the Council of Chiefs, I suppose there is no problem there.
Now, one more thing, let's talk about, the system we have today. If they want to pass a new constitution, it goes through the government, and then it goes to the president, and then it goes through the Great Council of Chief. But it's very hard for foreigners to understand how you have this British system. You walk through that, but then you have to still go through the chiefs to approve anything. I mean, it really doesn't work with UN. I mean, and they don't understand how the system works. Why is it like that?
Well, I think it's the paying courtesy to the Fijian people here because of their culture and their system, because the Great Council of Chiefs is really through their system. And so they are just leaning back over backwards to assist the Fijians by going through that channel, that anything affecting the Fijians should at least go through that forum. And if it's approved from there, then it should be okay for the rest of the Fijians.
So, but it doesn't sit well with overseas government because they don't have a system like that.
Yeah, they don't, yes, I agree.
Then it's a problem for Fiji, then we don't get grants. And everything starts hurting because they think there's a problem in this country, and even the army doesn't agree with the government. There's three different parties. Everybody have their own thing.
Yes, I think for overseas people, they've got to understand a little bit of our background here, of our customs and traditions, to be able to understand what is happening here, rather than just coming in and think that it's a Westminster style of government and so everything should be the way it is there. But it is not, because of our peculiar setup which is specific to us. And I think they should come in and understand that. And I think it's good because the government taking heed of the system that is there, because otherwise the native Fijians will just say, no, we don't want it, and that's the end of the matter. And not forgetting the fact that when Britain took over the islands and started the government that started here in Fiji in 1874, they undertook to look after the affairs of the indigenous Fijians. And this is still there today. When you look at the affirmative action that the government is doing in the blueprint, that is simply a carrying on of what was done by the British government at that point in time, promising to look after the interests of the indigenous people. Yes.
So what do you see? How you see the future of Fiji? I mean, you think they can run? I mean, on the same system, because it's going to be hard for Fiji to go forward. Fiji has big tourism, big sugarcane, and copra, but when people hear about the problem, when the army and the government and the great chiefs, they don't work together, then it hurts everybody who's for the country's development, economy and stuff like that. And plus overseas, if they want to give grant, everybody has to be like treated equally, and those things.
Yes, I can see where you're coming from. Well, to start off with, the military this year, the military was being vocal on issues that I thought personally that he had no jurisdiction to get involved with, especially when he is a servant of government, criticizing the government again. And I think the general view of the Fijian people, was that he was a bit off the mark sometimes, because he seems to be getting involved in all areas, and then got himself involved in areas into which he should not be getting involved in, that he should maintain his leadership in the military, and then all these things that are happening there. Yeah, it is quite I think the time is not yet here to be able to go in the way the Western countries have gone. Because I think our system being peculiar to us, it will take time to disappear. The one man, one vote, I think it will finally come, but it's not here yet. As you can see, the racial divide is in the voting system itself. It's there. It is not good for the country. The aid that should come to us, I think they are beginning to see that the UN aids, the European aids, and all the other aids that are coming to us in the form of assisting us to help us economically and politically and socially. Once they understand the background where we are coming from, they should accept the way things are at the moment. I think in the end it will disappear, but that time is yet to come. I don't know whether I've answered what you are asking.
Yeah, it's good, because I mean, what do you think of the Fiji's future? You know, like that's all I'm asking. You know, how it's going.
I think the future for this country is good. Our natural resources are here. It's a matter of developing that, and the tourism is booming, and they are just flocking in to see the way we are looking after the tourists here.
But the crime is also going up, which is like making tourism afraid of coming to Fiji, where like they're getting, you know, robbed. It's in the paper and the news all the time.
Yes.
So the crime has really gone up too.
This too is true. The crime rate, it goes up and it goes down, but at the moment there's quite a lot of it. But it could show of the underground boiling of the mud, as it were, about people being disgruntled about government and other things that are happening. And that's why I think this thing is there. But if we create a situation where we can find employment for these young people, develop the land much more than what it is today, so that people can get employment, these are the things that will help the young people from turning away from crime and concentrate on something where they can be useful and be a useful member of society. Turn them to a land. There's so much land lying idle. A lot of things can be done there. Divert the attention of young people to work the land, because that's where the money is. Plant watermelon is selling like peanuts these days, and it takes about 6-8 weeks to mature. And if you grow a lot of watermelon, it's quick cash money, you know, like vegetables.
Now let's talk about, you know, there's lots of land issue, like in the West, where the land are expiring and the Indians are not given chance to plant anymore, the farms, and if they stop farming, Fijians won't do it. It's growing into bushes. It's going to help the economy.
Yes.
How are we going to fix this problem? I mean, they are not renewing it for 99 years. They're only doing it for like 25.
Yes, this is one of the problem that government faces. Every government that comes into power. This matter should really be tackled and properly solved. Renewal of leases. I think the native owners, if they are treated properly, they should be no problem. There should be no problem in the renewal of leases. And I think too the leasing formula should be changed so that they get the reward for leasing out the land. Because at the moment it's not working that way, and I think a solution should be found to that problem. If the rate is probably increased and properly done in the way it is presently being done, it should be much better, so that the renewal, when it comes to renewal, you know, there is no problem. It is when I think the landowners that they have been disappointed or rather do not approve of certain things. That's when I think the difficulty comes in.
Okay, well, I mean, that's all I wanted to get from you. So, you do know this is a documentary film I'm making, and I mean, I can use this in my documentary film.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I understand.
And how the whole Fiji, and
Yes.
and the Girmitiyas and how it's changing,
Yes.
and the lifestyle. Anything else you want to add, like something you want to say, you think you should say, maybe people should know or listen or look forward to, or something like that?
Well, the resource owners would like to share the resources that they have with others that are coming in into the country. But I think the resolution of the problems in this country could be looked at by simply developing the resources of the Fijians and giving them the proper return for their land. Once that is done, if you keep them happy, they will be happy. And when you look around the globe and around the Pacific, where native landowners are present, it is really doing what they really would like to be done, because they want to develop their resources. They know that the country would benefit from it as well as them. And if that can be done by a system that can deal with that, and then there should be no problem. And in Fiji, because the tourists come to Fiji because of the smiling faces of the people, of the Fijian people here, because they know how to look after people, because that's the way they are brought up. They live in a community lifestyle, and so they are out to look after their hosts and see that they are comfortable, and they are used to that in their daily lives, always looking after people that come from next door or from the next village. And of course in Fiji you must understand that the interrelationships between various tribes is very much there. Like the people of Kandavu, Tauvu to the people of the West, the Tauvu relationship is very strong, from Serua, Nandronga, Mba, Ra, all Tauvu. And when you meet the Tauvu, you will go out of your way to, to help them, and in another way you can do all you can to downgrade them, but it's in the custom.